ranked 70th among 77 countries on the Female Entrepreneurship Index.
Most of the matchmaking services in India, 60% of the profiles are fake. I think if women support women, the world will be very, very different.
So the gender gap in entrepreneurship is actually very real. And according to a recent Niti Aayog report, India ranked 70th among 77 countries on the Female Entrepreneurship Index. This is why hearing from women entrepreneurs and giving their voice significance is of utmost importance today. Today we are privileged to hear from two such entrepreneurs, and at the core of both their businesses lies innovation. So I'll start with Shalini. Shalini owns, as the founder of Andwemet, which is a matchmaking service company. And to her, I'd like to ask that dating and matchmaking is a very populated marketplace. It's cluttered with a lot of different brands and apps. How is Andwemet making its mark and, it's doing it differently?
Okay, is this working? Am I audible? I am? Okay, all right. Thanks so much, firstly, for having us over. Yes, I do agree that the matchmaking market is definitely, I think it's chaotic more than anything else. We've had the incumbent players, who moved from, the classified ads and newspapers, came up and they provide you digitally. And then we have the international players who brought in the swipe culture. How we differentiate ourselves is, firstly, our age criteria. It's for Indians 28 years and above. And because what we are building is for singles who are looking for a long-term, substantial relationship. And I really like to thank you that you didn't call it matrimonial, because I call it a matchmaking service where you decide what kind of committed relationship you seek. The second thing that what we do on Andwemet, it's a known fact that most of the matchmaking services in India, 60% of the profiles are fake. So what we are doing from our side is trying to build a trusted service where we ask our subscribers to upload a government-led KYC document, which is not connected to your bank. So it could be a passport, it could be a driving license, where we make sure of your age, your photograph, and your gender. And plus, we're also making sure that the photographs you upload is, if you say you're 40, you're actually 40. I mean, the photographs is that of your current age versus what you were at 20. So that's what we're building.
Thank you so much for that. To Diksha. Diksha owns a very quirky jewelry brand. And one of the struggles she faces, she was telling me, was that the designs get stolen and copied very often, because these are also available in many different markets, even locally when you go. So Diksha, how do you manage that? How do you tackle that? And how do you remain relevant in today's day and age?
I think I'm audible, right? Yeah. So I think copying is a part of the process. I think everything gets copied, right? Like, you will make a reel, it'll get copied. You'll create a jewelry, it'll get copied. So I think you need to learn to accept it that, okay, it's gonna get copied. Now, a few things that I think, I have, पहले ऐसा होता था कि I used to feel bad about it, but now I've come to a realization that if your products are getting copied, it means it's worth getting copied. Like, people are talking about it, number one. Number two, I don't think anybody can ride on anybody else's success for far too long. You need to think, you need to be creative, you need to be original. And most importantly is what I have figured is that people who copy us think, इन्होंने क्या बनाया हम भी वो बनाते हैं. But on the other hand, how we think is, हमने ये बना लिया, अब हम आगे और क्या बनाएं. I think to be ahead of everybody else, to be smart, to be original with your ideas is, it's what's gonna make you you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said. Shalini, you built this business in your 40s, which traditionally, by societal standards, is known as too late, especially for a woman. So, did you tackle any biases in this journey, and how did you do that?
So, are you saying that what I should just give up and go? Like what? Like no. So I don't think, I mean, you know, I personally believe that age and gender should not stop you from following your dream or your ambition. So, yes, a publication wrote about me and, you know, that goes all over. But I think you need to see more than my age, right? How does it matter? If I have it in me at any age, it shouldn't matter. And I think, I also think that what I am building in my 40s, if I would have built it in my 20s, I wouldn't have that life's experience which I had to build what I'm building. So to answer your question, I think it doesn't matter. You could be of any age and do whatever you feel like if you have the grit in you.
Can you give me an example of how, you know, what kind of insights you brought to the matchmaking industry, which if you did it in your 20s, you'd think differently, especially about matchmaking and dating?
That's interesting. So I guess, look, so what I am building is a service, you know, where singles find love. But the kind of the communication that we are, you know, the kind of blogs that we are writing, or so you can find, you know, you find your love in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I think actually to that also there is no age on when you can find love. But I think the way I personally think on the content that we write versus the content I would have written whilst I was in my 20s would have been very different. 20s for me was very, love is perfect, love is pristine, you know, love is very Bollywood, love is very Shah Rukh Khan, but let's accept it. You know, in reality, your self-love is very important, and if you love yourself and if your partner loves yourself, there can be nothing that can hold you. And I'd like to also mention, that's why specifically I did mention the age that we start off with. It's 28 and above. Primarily, to be honest, we are targeting 30 and above because in India, we know when the girl turns 30, right? It's like, and she's single. There is so much of pressure on her to get married and she'll make the wrong choice. So I just want to celebrate singles and say, take your time. If it's the first time, second time, or the third time, it's absolutely okay. And actually, I'd like to mention another thing. I do predict that in the coming years, we're going to see individuals have at least 4 to 5 long-term committed relationships versus one for a lifetime. So, yeah, which I wouldn't have said if I was in my 20s.
Yeah, absolutely. Diksha, you're also a plus-size fashion influencer apart from running your own brand. And it's parallel businesses for sure, it's parallel careers probably. I want to know from you, how important is it to adapt to change in both these fields?
I think you need to adapt in any field, right? Like she said, कि आप 20s में कुछ और सोचते हो, आप 30s में कुछ और सोचते हो. You're adapting, like your body or your mind is adapting. So, but yes, when it comes to content creation and when it comes to being an entrepreneur, you need to adapt to every little thing. Like, you know, today you will call me and you know me as an entrepreneur and a creator, but I'm also a videographer, I'm also an editor. In this enormously long cab ride, I had to multitask 6 things. And I think that's true for anybody sitting here. You have to adapt to every little thing. अगर reel अभी algorithm बोल रहा है ये करो आप ये करोगे, अभी algorithm बोल रहा है. When I started as a content creator, I would write blogs. Like, you know, that's how my love for content creation started. I would write those chitta long captions. And people would read, you know, like how people think that आजकल नहीं पढ़ते हैं कोई, but पहले लोग पढ़ते थे. And I would write those enormously long captions, and you know, Instagram used to be more about photos, etc. And then it moved on to reels, and it moved on to even shorter form, like, you know, पहले 1 minute की video आई, फिर 30 seconds, 15 seconds, you know, things keep changing. So you need to adapt to every little thing. You know, sometimes I forget that I'm close to my 30, like I'm 29, I'll turn 30 this year. I sometimes forget that. But when I see this Gen Zs and, you know, people who are interning with me, and then I realize, yaar, ye to kuch aur hi kar rahe hain. And then there's so much to learn from them. So irrespective whether you're, and even when you're juggling between being a content creator and an entrepreneur, there's again so much to learn. How to learn to manage two teams, how to learn to manage work when you're not there, right? All of those things. I think all of us sitting here, anybody working, non-working, we are adapting to a lot of things. My mom, who is a housewife, has adapted to the real culture. She knows how to share my content on Facebook and ask people to follow my page. That's adapting, right?
Tell me one more thing. How do these two parallel careers affect each other? Does it help your business to be an influencer? Or is it like a very draining thing where you need to sort of cater to two different audiences on two different pages?
मैं हर वीक में एक दिन सोचती हूँ एक काम बंद करना पड़ेगा बट कुछ होता है एंड यू लाइक नहीं यार इट्स बोथ ऑफ देम आर वर्थ इट एंड yes, being a content creator helped me start my business, and being an entrepreneur now also helps create a certain authenticity to my content. It also gives me fresh perspectives. They are both very different, career paths. I don't I create content on fashion, but then I'm not selling clothes per se for plus sizes, right? So there are two different career paths. It's not like क्योंकि मेरे followers है तो वही मेरी jewelry खरीद लेता है. Even though I started as a content creator and I had let's say 15-20,000 followers, then when I started my business page, today my business page has more followers than my personal page. So I'm not riding on to anybody's success on any of the other pages. Both are very individualistic pages. बहुत बार ऐसा time आता है जब अभी जैसे there was a very big thing that happened in the business. I couldn't create content for a month, and I did not, because for me, my content needs to be very authentic. I cannot force myself to bring something to the audience when I'm not feeling that. And I think my audience also realizes that I do two things at a time, and they are just there, just waiting. They're very sweet, waiting there. कि हाँ जब डालेगी तब सुन लेंगे. So yeah, that's about it.
To Shalini, I want to know from you, I personally think that women are conditioned and shaped from childhood through the experiences they have. And a lot of them are affected by women around them, whether they are bosses, whether they are mothers, however it is. How has that shaped your life, and how do you think it shapes most women's lives in terms of support as well as conditioning?
So I'll talk about how it shaped my life first, and then I'll give an opinion of otherwise. I was always told, while growing up, somewhere I was always told that subconsciously that I'm going to get married, right? Through my growing up years, but I was also told that I need to have a career, right? And then and I see that, I just feel that I wish there was a change in not telling me that you have to get married, right? Because my father was in the forces, limited income, so so it was subconsciously done. It was not saying कि तेरी शादी होनी है, but the trousseau was getting collected. Kanjivaram saris, if somebody is going to the south, somebody is going to northeast, so bone china dinner set, things like that, right? Whilst I didn't get married, okay? So all that, when I didn't get married from the age my mom or dad, or my mom rather, not more than my dad, my mom wanted me to marry. So somewhere I felt that there is something lacking in me because things didn't work out. And the primary reason why I didn't get married when they wanted me to, the boys' parents, not even the boys, when they came and, they would meet and they would go, the next day when my mom would call them, they would say, Ladki kali hai, the girl's dark complexioned. Okay, so now because, you go to the salon, you remove your tan, but when you're young, you're out in the sun. So on that basis, actually that was also a seed for me to start Andwemet. Because on Andwemet, we don't ask your complexion. We don't ask your complexion, we don't even for your body type. We give an option rather not disclose. I don't agree with it because you cannot, objectify any individual on the way they look, because I promote that. I say, why don't you go meet the person? So going back to your question, I think if women support women, the world will be very, very different. And it starts from your mothers. If the mothers stop telling the girls that your value is to be a dutiful wife and a dutiful mother, and they stop telling boys that your value is just to go earn, that's a pressure indirectly put from your growing up age. I think if that stops, we would see it starts from home. And then, at work, if a woman is doing well professionally, we hear other women say she may have slept her way through. Even if she has, what's to you? She's gone up, she's reached there, right? So we're always trying to pull down women, and I think if women support women, nobody can stop us. So yeah, so those are my views here.
Very well said. Diksha, a lot of you here may be Shark Tank fans, and you may recognize her from there. Diksha went on Shark Tank 3, the latest season, and even secured funding from 2 of the sharks. I want to know from you, how has the business been since the show aired, which was, I think, a couple of weeks back?
Sorry. Yeah. Yes, I think it was as expected. The business was booming. The website visitors were 10x. The sales were 4-5x. मेरी रोज़ डिलीवरी वाले भैया से लड़ाई होती थी कि भैया आधा घंटा रुक जाओ और पैकेजेस ले जाओ. We had to double our staff, we had to work a lot overtime, and I think more than anything, the kind of messages you received, the brand received, my team received, and the kind of recognition that us as a small business, we started out as on Instagram, right? And there are so many women out there who run small pages or run businesses from their homes or at a very small level, and they're constantly told things like hobby hai, ghar se kar rahi hai, and those very cringy things, right? Very icky things. I think both video wo episode dekhe, there were a lot of messages coming that how they felt like they had received a recognition, and it felt the best message, how the most amount of messages were like how it felt like a personal win. So that felt very great. I remember when I had applied to Shark Tank, and my husband and I, we were just talking, and I was like, yaar, mujhe na bas jana hai yaar. And on the same week, somebody I had met, like a person who lives in the same colony. He asked me, what do you do? So I told him, I run a jewelry business. And he's like, acha, to ghar se karti hogi. Like, and in that tone, ki, haan, kuch side mein chota mota chal raha hai, right? My husband and I, we bought a home, we bought a house. Nobody would ask me ki kitna, the message would always be directed to him, ki, acha, kitne paise diye? Ya, ki, how much have you paid? It would never be how much have both of you paid, right? Like, almost as if that the career that I have is not something that brings money into the house. Although on the contrary, I make probably triple the money that he makes. But that would never occur to anybody, right? And I just wanted to give that platform that nahi yaar, ek chota business bhi badi soch rakhta hai. And I think that energy that you received within you, and that energy that people received around you, that was phenomenal. Like, of course, the sales were skyrocketing. We got over 40,000 followers in a period of a month. Otherwise, it would have taken me a year to do that. But yeah, all of those things really did matter. And then I'm sure people who watch Shark Tank then start realizing that, oh, we saw her on Shark Tank, right? So yeah.